Welcome back to another episode of the Valaery Rose Show. I'm your host, Valaery Rose, and today's episode is going to be about leading through the storm and how my dear friend, the awesome guest today, which I'll tell you her name shortly, how she transformed her pain into purpose. She's a powerhouse leader, a community trailblazer. She's the founder of Misty Cota Real Estate. She served as a California Senate District Representative, a community commissioner, and a three-time president of the La Mirada Ebell Women's Club. They are very amazing. She gave me the opportunity to speak there once upon a time, and I'm sure I'll go back soon. And what makes her truly remarkable is her heart, her resilience, and her mission to empower others through authenticity and service. Get ready for a powerful, real, raw, authentic conversation and help me welcome my chingona friend, Misty Cota Maple.
Wow, thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Absolutely,
Wow,
girl.
I'm going to take you on the road with me.
You better. I'm like, I would love that.
That's-
Misty, I know we've had so many conversations, girl, where it already felt like we had a podcast already with all the different types of conversations that we had. But I really want to start off with, let's start with your story and take us back. Like, what was life growing up for you, and how did certain challenges or even wins or lessons in life that shaped you to be the badass woman that you are today?
Okay. Well, thank you first and foremost for having me
Yeah,
on
for
your
sure.
podcast. It's an honor to be here. And so my journey is a lot of ups and downs, like many women
Right.
we have. I'm 49 years old. So next year will be a big birthday for me. So it's perfect time for me to reflect and speak about my journey now. I've had a lot of ups and downs, like I said. So there's been a lot of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I finally feel like I have a healed voice to speak about this. And we're constantly growing, like you always
Yeah.
share with me too.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm 49 years old, but I could still learn from the younger folks too, so as well. So I appreciate you being in my life. So um, thank you for the introduction. It hasn't always been that easy growing up. My parents were briefly married.
Mm-hmm.
So my brother, I have a younger sibling who's a year younger than me.
Okay.
And so life was good for a couple years until it wasn't good, right? Till the parents split up and mom moved over to, my grandparents' house and, dad, it was a separate household, which, my mother was in the acting, she was in the showbiz industry and father was working. So, I was raised by a single parent essentially, although dad was there. And my mom, I will share more about her because of being in the movie industry and the people that she was around.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't judge her journey. My healing has been through understanding. And because I feel as a woman, it's really not cute for one to sit there and judge another woman, but we must try to at least understand and give grace where we can.
Absolutely.
And so and learn and then realize we are not so different. And if we were in their same shoes, we might even actually have made those decisions. So you never
Right.
know unless you're in those things. So my mother had to take the bull by the horns and raise my brother and I, which wasn't always an easy task because I was a good kid, a sweet kid, but I was determined to do whatever I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, or cause trouble or play with my friends and, being a latchkey kid that a lot of us kids were when we were in the 80s. We had to, it meant that I had to, get myself up for school. It meant that I had to wake my brother up, get him breakfast and go to school, come home, go get dinner, get the $5 and go to dinner, get dinner for us. And, mom would come home late. Now, sometimes I wouldn't make it to school. So
Mm-hmm.
I was ditching school and doing those things when I was a young kid.
And it sounds
Things
like you had to grow up pretty fast too, especially having to take that responsibility of worrying about your younger brother and even thinking about dinner. And I think that's something that a lot of us can relate to in the Latino community or being raised by a single parent.
True.
Hmm.
Yes. So, and that's just how it was. And we'd have babysitters here and there and whatnot. And, but sometimes, like I said, those times that's what was done. So we lived in my grandmother's house for a while. Then we lived in an apartment complex in Buena Park.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I was probably from first through third grade running around town there. Now, I had cousins and family that lived in East LA, lived in Bell, lived in Maywood. On the weekends, I was over at my aunt's house running around with my cousins. And I didn't know the difference in terms of, how that's just life, how life was. But I did see a lot of gangs and drugs and
Yeah.
things like that. Those influences too as well, but that was just kind of around those neighborhoods
Mm-hmm.
after too. So, it wasn't abnormal for me to have met somebody that had got shot before. It
Right.
wasn't abnormal for me to meet somebody or your bike was stolen or things like that, right?
It's like
Just
a norm, something you
yeah,
expect because you grow up and you're like, oh, I'm familiar with it. It's a
sure.
normal thing here.
Absolutely. But the good times in the neighborhoods where we were playing outside, we played outdoors until, we played hide and seek and kick the can and poison beans and things like that out there. It was a different time,
Yeah,
right?
those are the
After
days.
those are the
Yeah.
days, those are breakdancing days. Now I'm really aging myself there, but but you used to run around town until like the lights went on and whatnot. So and I was always on roller skates and
You
running
still
around.
are up
Yeah,
to
I
this
do.
day. You
I
love
do.
it.
I love roller skates too. So I got back on this year. And playing hide and go seek one day when I was living in Buena Park in the apartments, playing with my friends, and I was it. And what happened? This is something that shaped my life. Um, so I was it, and I was counting, and I was skating. I was on roller skates, and there was a gentleman, not a gentleman, a man there, and he was dressed like a gentleman. So he was dressed in a 3-piece suit, tie, suit, whatnot. So back in those days, like stranger danger was kind of talked about, but you really thought stranger danger was like a thug
Yep.
or somebody like if Different Strokes was back in the day, those shows, and they would show somebody, but it was like somebody like dressed like in street clothes. So
Yeah.
I wasn't really expecting somebody dressed in a suit to be, a stranger or danger. So this man was complimenting me on my skates and skating, and my friends weren't around. And then he asked, do you want to see? I have kittens. I have kittens in the back of my car. So I love cats as a kid. So I went there and followed him.
And
And
how old were you at this time?
I was 7 years
Okay,
old.
7 years old.
Yes. So
Very little.
very young. And so I went to the back of the carport, followed him there, and he showed me where his car was at. And then he said the cats were in the back. And then I looked, and just that overwhelming fear, like this whole grip of fear, like thinking, oh my gosh, there's no cats right after. So before I thought could even run, he pushed me down. And I realized that he was trying to abduct me and
Yeah.
take me. So I was under his possession for a little of time. My friends didn't know where I was at. He proceeded to try to do what he wanted to do. I was telling him you didn't have to do that. And then after, what happened was he just put me in his car and took off with me
Oh
there.
my
So
gosh.
he took off with me in the car. And then, so prior to that, my life just like flashed before my eyes. And
Right,
when
I
your life
bet.
flashes before your eyes as a little kid, it's like frames, like right after. And it's basically my mom, my brother, or just whatnot. But so anyways, I prior to that though, what I will say is that I had gone to church. I had found the Lord at a young age. So I always loved going to church. The neighbors, the van, like I guess somebody introduced or invited me to go to church. So I would go, and then I started going on my own after even the neighbors weren't going, and I would go. And then even when I was visiting my cousins and living in going in the neighborhoods, they would send us to church too as well. My aunts with 2 quarters and for our offering. So and sometimes my cousins didn't want to go to church, so they'd tell, and I'm like, I want to go though. So that's
And
another
they're like,
story.
now we have to go
Yeah,
because you
right. So
don't
or I'd
have
have
to
to
go.
ditch so that they would, because they tell me, Misty, if they'll know after.
Yeah.
So any case, but So I had found the Lord at a really young age, and I had my own little Bible and whatnot, picked out a
Mm.
verse, which is faith has carried me through.
Yeah.
So I had just prayed to Jesus inside there in that car after, and I guess a neighbor had saw and was chasing the man too. So I must have said Jesus's name or said it. I said it, and I know, and he just stopped. He stopped. The guy like just was like, "Get out of my car!" And I just jumped out. I jumped out of a moving vehicle, and so they chased him, and it ended up he ended up taking off, and I guess I don't know if they caught him or whatnot. I think he was a business guy, and on in a rental car, and so the police ended up coming to my house,
Yeah.
right? And so my parents are like just staring at me at this point, right? The police, neighbors, and I really just remember, like, I didn't want anybody to feel sorry for me. I
Mhm.
didn't want to, like, look like a victim. I had to act like I was tough now
So brave
after.
of you for a 7-year-old. I'm like,
Mm,
that's a very thank you for sharing
mhm,
that because I know it can be
mhm.
very hard. Like even just to go back to that space and that place in your mind and think of it, it's like it feels like you could be reliving it all over
Sure.
again. So I thank you so much for
Oh,
sharing that. And just to be at that age and telling yourself, shit, I have to be strong and I have to put up this front because I need to be tough. But imagine all of the things that you were feeling and
oh,
how much it affected you,
absolutely.
you know?
Yeah, and it definitely, made me my guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Raised my guard, being a little tough girl, but
Mm-hmm.
there was also simultaneously things happening too in the background too. So, families have secrets, right?
Right.
And so some families, and I've been about and then is talking about those things. I
Mm.
don't like secrets, those family secrets, because you don't get the healing per
Yep.
se. So we've had in my family, there was alcohol, right?
Mhm.
After, not like my mom didn't drink, but my father partying, Latino families
Yeah.
partying, right?
Mhm.
Drinking and stuff, and grandparents and uncles and whatnot. So when I had previously been living at my grandmother's house, and that, and I had an uncle that was abusing me too
Mhm.
as well. So, and I didn't recognize it as abuse, right?
Yeah.
After, and touching me, or I would, pretend I was asleep
Mhm.
when he'd come home at night drunk, and I'd have to push him off or kick him off, and those sorts of things and other things that he did. So I imagine now, like, I'm this kid that's like gotten kidnapped. I hadn't told my mom those
Mhm.
things yet. So I think one time, she was like, "What's wrong? Like, what's
Mhm.
wrong?" After,
'Cause there was
because
definitely something wrong, you know?
yes, there was something wrong, because I went from being in kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, quiet, really like a, good little girl, to
Mm.
like being just a brat sort of, and then I explained to her what happened to me. So my mom ended up having to call the police and
Mhm.
prosecute her brother, and we'd had to go through the court system for those things too as well. So I ended up, now that I look back at it, I didn't realize, but I prosecuted an uncle and put
Mm.
him away for those things.
Yeah.
And so, however, he must have gotten out a couple years later, or however long. So he was kind of around per
Mhm.
se. So I know that the family was not, they didn't really talk about it so much, but they were very, and I just thought, oh gosh, I mean, now looking it back, I wish that he wasn't around me
Yep.
per se. He
And I
passed
really
away.
love that your mom, she took that action because just like you said,
Mhm,
there's those family secrets that sometimes
mhm.
some families will be like, "Oh no, you're maybe just imagining things,"
Oh,
or
sure.
they wouldn't want to go against their sibling. But I
Right.
love that she did stand up for you
She did.
and she did what she had to do to protect you as much as it hurt her in several ways. Like you said, there was some sort of pain because, dang, this is happening to my daughter and my own family member is doing this to her. Like, how dare you?
Sure. Yeah, and it's got to be tough for her too as well. And there's other, other brothers that she's had. My mom's one of, she's one sister and she has 5 brothers, and
Hmm.
a lot of couple troubled brothers there. So my mom has definitely weathered the storm, and worked her butt off to be what she is today.
Yep.
So that's definitely a tough journey as a mom. So meanwhile, we're growing up, and my dad and my mom, they're separated, but my officially divorced,
Okay.
right? And so that meant that we would get the house in La Mirada. My
Hmm.
dad wanted us to live in a house that there was a lot of homeowners there,
Hmm.
and a good neighborhood. So he, and he traded a house he had a house in Whittier. So he ended up living in Whittier. So, um, my brother and I had already been getting in trouble in Whittier when I was in third grade. We lit our backyard on fire, like
Oh
playing
my
with
goodness,
matches.
it's the third grade.
Yeah. So those sorts of things. So I think my dad wanted us to be in La Mirada, so I came to La Mirada.
Mhm.
Played sports there growing up. My mom was the movie industry did not pan out for her. The way that it was. There's a lot of strikes and whatnot.
Mhm.
I thought a lot of superficial people there too, but that's just,
Mhm.
I noticed that as a young kid. So my
Yeah.
mom worked in the restaurant industry.
Okay.
So she had to work and, work day and night a lot of times. So again, my brother and I being latchkey kids, right? And
What does
we're
that mean, latchkey kids?
latchkey
Because you
kids?
said it,
Oh,
you're like, it's
sorry.
an
That's an
80s thing.
80s
And I
term.
was
So
like,
we
okay.
had to open up the doors for ourselves, I guess.
Okay.
The latch, yeah, and that's what they called us after latchkey. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah,
No,
so you
good
guys all know that now. You guys press the ring camera, I guess though, but but
job.
that's what the term was back then.
Okay,
So yeah,
perfect.
thank
Thanks
you
for
for
yeah,
asking that.
absolutely.
So
Thanks for clarifying.
any case, so I played sports and I didn't have the parents that were showing up,
Mhm.
there and uh, that they were doing their own thing. And like my parents were kind of boomer parents where they're
Mhm.
just like, children should be seen and not heard. Right.
Yep.
And that tough kind of, so I was raised pretty tough. And I say this because it's reflected in my parenting style. We'll get into that
Yeah.
too. Um, so the coaches would pick up my daughter, my brother and I.
Mhm.
I had coaches picking me up, and then uh, I would play with my brother's team too, and so I was playing with the boys too as well.
Mhm.
And then I had friends that were like the bad girls, kind of like didn't play sports, so they would
Okay.
wait for me to kind of be off the
To
field.
then go start thugging it
Yeah,
out.
yes, all the time. And so I was running around town even at 11 years old, 12 years old, like sneaking out of my window or out the
Mhm.
front door and just thinking I'm all grown right
Yep.
after. So,
I could relate to you on so many levels with that because I think a lot of it stems from the lack of supervision.
mhm,
Because even myself, as you're saying a lot of these things, I can totally relate. I grew up with my grandmother, so mom and dad weren't around.
mhm.
And same thing, me being the oldest of all my siblings, there's a total of five of us. I felt like I was all grown, making my own choices, being able to run away, escape. So it ends up catching up to us in a way where it makes us knowledgeable, like streetwise, we learn to fend for ourselves. But sometimes I wish there was a better way. But I'm like, it's just what ended up having to happen to us to be the people that we are today.
Absolutely. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that too, because that is definitely true. And I mean, it is not the ideal childhood per se, but it
Right.
was mine. So yeah, and so after growing, I'm trying to think, okay, so I'm playing soccer 10, 11, 12 years old. And then I meet, start really dating in my
Mhm.
freshman year of high school.
Okay.
So high school at that point went from eighth grade to 12th, right?
Yeah.
And I meet the beautiful boy in school freshman year, and we have a beautiful relationship
Mhm.
after. And tall blue eyes and handsome, and he was newer to our school, and I was playing varsity sports at the time, and I just lost my virginity at a really young age, right?
Mhm.
To my 14 years old, 15 years old, which now I'm just like, oh my gosh, right? You
Yeah.
think you're all grown like you are, and I'm being totally honest there. And I also didn't live at home per se because I was having a tough time with my mother
Mhm.
too, and rightfully so,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
She's, and I will say it was hard for her maybe to control us, and I wasn't really easily. So I'm not, I take full responsibility. But ended up
Mhm.
happening is, I was ditching school. I would actually like I'd play varsity sports and then I would not be eligible to play for spring. And then I would go to summer school and get A's in summer school because I
Mhm.
was always smart
Yeah.
and always smart, but I just didn't believe in myself or I didn't know. Even elementary school, I was supposed to be in gate, and I
Mhm.
I just said no, I'm not going to go there. Only nerds do that.
Mhm.
So now I'm the biggest nerd, right? But like back then, because I didn't have guidance, I didn't know,
Right.
And so I felt like I wasn't nurtured or raised. Now I
Mhm.
did have other uh, friends that had their moms that were really kind to me and
Mhm.
really, even one helped me and sewed my prom dress. And really kind, real people. So I just would always wonder too, like, wow, like look at their moms are there
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. And they sit with them or they're helping or they're giving advice or they don't really because I didn't feel like my mom really liked me per se, growing
Yeah.
up. And so
What made you feel that way?
just because a lot of times she just maybe she was so busy or she was so tired, but I just didn't feel like she spent time with me. We
Mhm.
never got our nails done, makeup
Mhm.
done, those things. We did I mean, she shopped with
Yeah.
me, but, I don't know, a lot of times I thought that she because I was so close to my father,
Mhm.
and so, and I looked a lot like him,
Mhm.
sometimes my cousins would tell me that that was the reason too that he paid a lot of attention to me and that her being an actress and a dancer, that
Mhm.
she used to like the attention. I don't
Mhm.
know, but
Did you
there was
ever
like
ask her?
there was a yes, I've tried to
Okay.
talk with her and level with her, and felt like there was more of a competitive nature per
Okay.
se. So I and it was hard. So I had that mother wound right
Mhm.
after
Mhm.
from long time, and I would always want to please her, or always want to, uh, and it felt like nothing was good enough for that. And I think though there was based on the evidence that she was shown,
Mhm.
she probably thought, "Wow, this girl is not going to do something with herself," right? So it was just this cycle. So what ended up happening is I was in that relationship became very abusive
Okay.
that I was in.
In
Um,
the one where you
what,
lost your virginity and to
yes,
get
yes,
pregnant and
yes, yeah,
that
my
okay.
yes. He was from a broken family too, and they
Okay.
had a history of drugs and violence and whatnot. So, young love, and you're experiencing all these emotions, and you're just drama right
Mhm.
after. So there was so much drama, so much control, and he was abusive to me too,
Mhm.
and hitting. And sometimes I'd have to defend myself per
Right.
se, but as a young, I'm only 100 pounds, and he got suspended at one time too for
Mhm.
doing that in front of the whole school.
Oh, wow.
And then we'd battle and whatnot and
Mhm.
get back together again. And he ended up going to different high schools. So we were in separate high schools, but still dating. And then finally, it was around Christmas time, I had skipped a period, and
Mhm.
then my mom had to take me to the doctor, and because I was sleeping a lot, and
Mhm.
found out that I was pregnant at 16 years old. And so that was a life changing moment because my mom
Right?
said, "You really got yourself in one this time, didn't you?"
Mhm.
And I said, "Yep, I did." And so I was quiet for 2 days and went through all the thoughts, all that, and just realized, you know what? And I knew, I just tried every scenario out, and then I said, okay, I'm a mom, be a mom, and that I'm going to have a baby.
Yeah.
And I knew that I would be the best mom there was, and I knew that even if I was a single mother, that because I generally knew deep down,
Mhm.
even though we were supposedly together or not. So I made the decision right
Mhm.
there. So enrolled into a teen mom program. High school, I had to leave the Mirada High School and go to continuation
Yeah.
school. I was 2 years behind on my credits,
Mhm.
and I had to, take all kinds of classes to become a mother, but I took it very seriously and ended up getting straight A's and
Mhm.
doing well in school. I worked at night to do paperwork, or I actually babysat for 5 kids at night. And I got them to school in the morning, and that's how I was able to pay for a little bit of money for my daughter and I when she was born.
That's very
Yeah,
empowering.
thank you.
It's like she came along and started bringing more positivity into your
Mm,
life.
mm,
And I love how you just took those action steps, as
mm,
scary as it can be, especially being a teen
mhm,
and getting pregnant and not having that support, whether it be from him, but you have it from your mom, where she's like, okay, shit's going to get real.
mhm.
And you're doing what you have to do to move forward.
Oh, absolutely.
And would you say that you knew you were going to become the best mom you could be because you feel like you didn't have that and you might have gotten that example, like, okay, maybe this is what I shouldn't do because mom did this and mom made me feel this way, so I know to act opposite of that.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
I told myself I was going to tell her I love her.
Mhm.
I was going to nurture her. I was going to teach her and guide her. So I kind of felt like I overdid it a bit. But my whole thing was, being that I was the primary parent for a long time, that if something were to happen to me, I
Mhm.
wanted her to be fully equipped to
Right.
know how to handle herself. And to this day, she's 32 years old now, so it's been a long journey, and she's, she graduated top of her class, and
Mhm.
she's had her own journey, and she has been
Nice.
fully equipped. I'm super proud of her. She makes every decision for herself and stands behind it and is very clear on her needs and wants and her goals. And so I feel like and she would teach me and tell me, "Mom, you know why you need to do this or blah blah blah, or you don't
Mhm.
ask for what you want and you need to say." And so I'm super, but our journey was a long journey. Like I said, I was a young mom, and I learned how to, eat well. I took care of. I even when I was pregnant, I had to document and put like a journal of
Mhm.
everything I ate. I didn't even drink caffeine, girl. I didn't have chocolate. Very serious about it, and
Very
yeah,
life-changing.
very life
Yeah.
changing. I'm a mom, right? After at
Mhm.
that point, and so, and I was actually the first time I heard her heartbeat, it was amazing, and her dad was there as well.
Mhm.
And but the heartbreaking of it was that, which should have been a beautiful memory, and he basically told me that day, he said, "Misty, I don't love you." So we've been
That day that you had her?
no, the day that I had heard her heartbeat for the
Okay.
first time after when I was pregnant. So
Mhm.
he told me that. So imagine I'm 5 months pregnant, and he told me that he didn't love me anymore. So this is we're together a few years. It's a little late,
Mhm.
right? So I remember being heartbroken, having tears in my
Right.
eyes, and going home on the bus. And so then I nothing you could say or do or scream at somebody, right? So went home heartbroken. I went to school, and I was going to school still, in my pregnancy. And somebody told me there, because I was going to continuation school. So the
Mhm.
high schools all connect, they all know each other. So
Right.
they actually knew who my daughter's father was, and said,
Okay.
and I didn't realize, they said, that guy does a lot of drugs. And
Mhm.
I didn't realize, I didn't know that. So I didn't know that.
Okay.
Right. So and you look back at it now, I mean, he's had a problem on and
Mhm.
off. So, I basically told him, I can't, I don't want to lose this baby. So after I can't have this fighting. I can't have
Mhm.
this. If you're not going to be healthy, then, so I pretty much went through my pregnancy on my own. My brother was my coach there
Mhm.
too, and and it was really peaceful time, and had my baby, and finished high school, and with credits, with graduated with my
Yeah.
class, and we were still together. We tried to get back together on and off,
Mhm.
and all grace, my he was a young guy too,
Yeah.
so like we're young,
Right.
and so, but it didn't obviously work out. And so at that time, I worked at a gym. I worked at LA Fitness.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So right after high school graduated, and I was able to take my daughter there to the childcare,
Mhm.
but they actually promoted me to the front desk. And then I became a manager and working, weekends, manager, training staff, hiring staff. I ended up being number one at LA Fitness because I learned how to do sales and and I learned how to make money, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing about me, is that, like, being a young mom, like I told you, I did
Mhm.
that paperwork when I
Right.
was young. I worked, found a way.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, this is how I do the calls. All right, I'll get me on the phone. And even my old GM was like, you're so funny on the phones, Misty. And I said, well, once you teach me how to
Mhm.
do it, I can do it. I'm
Yeah.
natural. So
That's good because 'cause you're
yeah,
taking that initiative
yeah,
to do what you have to do to move up, and then I
right,
know you started going to at what point were you going to college? Because I
right.
remember seeing you posted something where it was like, you had a memory of it. You're like, "I used to walk through these alleys, like, through the hood just to
Yeah,
get to school,"
yeah, yeah,
and that alone is a
yeah.
sacrifice.
Sure. Well, when I worked at LA Fitness, mind you, there was all kinds of meatheads and muscle
Mhm,
guys there. I never paid attention to anybody. Okay. I just had my family and whatnot. But
mhm.
And my ex, I realized I was growing and he wasn't.
Yep.
And so I actually met people there that were students,
Okay.
and they were going to go to UCLA. One was going to go to USC,
Mm-hmm.
and we became friends. All like kind of, they would come work out. We're still friends to this day.
That's
So,
cool.
but
Long-time
one of them,
friendship.
yeah, one of my friends told me, he said, Misty, if you went to school, you'd pass me up so much. And I said, really? Because I was always reading and writing, and I would share with them. And so I ended up going to Cerritos College and went there, and I loved college. I took 2 classes. The first, like, and a weight training class the first semester. I actually learned, I had from LA Fitness, I went to work somewhere else full time, but then I
Okay.
decided to go to school, so I had to learn how to be a waitress and
Dude,
learn that.
waitressing is fun. There's
Yeah,
like a
it's
lot of
fun.
stories with
It
that.
is fun. It is hard work. You come home smelling like food, right? But
Mhm.
you definitely know how to win the table. You know how to make your money. You give
Right.
them an experience, and I was able to go to school during the day and then work at night.
Yep.
And then, so then I was at Cerritos College. I was there for a couple years. Became president of the Honors Club, president of different things there. I
Mhm.
was in the Senate, and then I had found a path. One thing I know how to do is to figure out a goal and find the path how to get there.
Yep.
So I was gonna at first go to UCLA, but decided to go to USC because they have a business program. They
Okay.
had a transfer path. So,
Mhm.
and people would tell me, well, how do you know you're going to be there? And it's just like, well, if I work every day for it, why wouldn't I?
Mhm.
And so you can't deviate from the path. I had to get straight A's
Yeah.
and be an honors. So
That
that was
self-belief started kicking in because remember
yeah,
earlier you mentioned that when you were younger and you were a kid, it was hard to believe in yourself. But it seems
sure.
like as you got older and you started overcoming different life challenges and
Mhm.
knowing that that was the goal and creating the action plan, you started to believe in yourself more. And you
Absolutely.
said it right now. You're like, I know I'm gonna get there because if I work hard, where else is it gonna take me? It's gonna
Absolutely.
bring something good for sure eventually.
Absolutely. And I used to mumble as a kid a lot too. One time I mumbled so much in 5th grade that people couldn't understand me. And so finally I told myself, I'm not going to mumble anymore. And I spoke clear after.
Mhm.
So I've had those struggles and I have had severe anxiety, but I've overcome those
Yeah.
things after you take deep breaths and you go forward
Mhm.
after. So going to USC, yes, I'm accepted into this business program,
Yep.
but I don't have housing there. So my mom and my daughter and I had to go and find a place to live. Out, they didn't have family housing, so we lived in the
Mhm.
neighborhood. I lived off of Budlong and Browning, off of it's King in Vermont.
And what
Pri-
city is that
That's
in?
South Central LA,
Okay.
and
Ooh,
so
girl, gangsta,
yeah,
gangsta.
yeah, yeah. Oh, don't let Gangster Miss
Yeah.
come out. But so I lived there. It was a cute apartment, decorated it really cute. One of my girlfriends, she's Jackie. She's like a big sister to me. Her parents have been in ministry. They helped they gifted us couches
Oh, that's
and all
amazing.
those every pot, every
Yep.
pan, everything. Even I always was well clothed because Jackie, like a big sister, was always
Mhm.
giving me her hand me downs, and I always was dressed really nice all the time too. And I knew how to shop, right, and
Yep.
make a dollar stretch after.
Mhm.
So
Hit the clearance section right
that's
away.
right, yeah. So we were always looking cute, and I've always had really great friends, and a lot of love. Even when I
I
went to
love that.
USC, a lot of people were like, "Wow, Missy, how come there's like 16 people that come with you to like the events?" And I was like, "Oh, because my friends are trying to meet girls and
Mhm.
stuff too." So
Yeah.
our friends and but yeah, and my daughter, she was raised around a lot of love
Mhm.
to our friends. So she and I lived out there. Now back then it was about it was right before 9/11 happened.
Okay.
Okay, so my daughter's 8 years old. I had family that told me, I don't agree with you going there. I don't agree. And that self belief again, I thought,
Mhm.
well, that's okay if you don't agree. I got accepted here. I'm paying for it. I'm
Mhm.
going to go here. I deserve it. I worked hard every day. So we had bars on our windows, and there was stuff out there that happened. I mean,
Right.
I saw a lot. I even had to share with my daughter a lot of those things and what to be careful for. I walked her to school every morning,
Mhm.
and I picked her up every day
Yep.
after her after school programs. And there was a lot of people that were noticeably on drugs there
Yep.
and those things. She saw that. I was also, but she and also and I, we were also able. We went to church there.
Mhm.
We mentored a lot of the kids there too as well. I used to have the kids over once a month to play at my apartment,
Mhm.
and then we would talk about our dreams and our goals and whatnot. And then sometimes I'd ask my girlfriends, "You want to come over?" And like, "No, wait, tell me when the kids are gone
Yeah.
out there."
They're like, "I'm trying to have real life."
Yeah. So, but those sorts of things. The neighborhood, even I even after in the middle of going to USC, there was housing that opened up, and I stayed there
Mhm.
too as well. My neighbors were really sweet to me, Latinos.
Yeah. Did
Uh,
you stay because of like the power of the community that was
yes,
around you where you felt loved, supported, so
I
you're like,
did.
"Why leave here?"
I did. I
Okay.
felt community. Even like the lady, there's a lady there that she and her kids were the same age as my daughter, so
Mhm.
she babysat sometimes too for me. She even cried when I left when I
Mhm.
was visiting home for like the summer.
Yeah.
I said, "I'm coming back, I
Mhm.
promise." And so I felt a lot of love, even if I couldn't study out there with or I'm sorry, I was studying and I couldn't
Mhm.
attend some of their things, the parties, and
Yep.
they would bring me a plate too,
Oh,
or
that's
bring a couple
awesome.
plates of carne asada and all yeah. So and it was fun, but it was dangerous too. I when I was at USC in business school, I'm dressed in suits during the day and coming back, and the neighborhood would get a little bit rougher at night. So
Mhm. That's true.
sometimes I would tell my girlfriends, don't come out of your car, just you can pick me up, but
Yeah.
it's not something you. And so I've had, altercations there with a gun pointed at me there before too, with a
Oh,
guy even
wow.
coming up to my door and this and that, and I've had to tell him, "We met on the wrong foot, but I'm not a gang member."
Okay.
So,
Was
like
it because, like, how you were dressed?
well, he was kinda throwing rocks at my window because my window faced that alley right there,
Oh,
right? So,
okay.
this one particular day, my daughter, I just took her to her babysitters, and I was gonna
Mhm.
attend an event. I was president of an organization, so I didn't really wanna go to this event, but had to go. And, I guess my daughter left the window open to the alley, and so we typically didn't have it, so he saw, and he was throwing his rocks to get my attention, or I don't know,
Mhm.
so I yelled out, "Don't throw rocks at
Yeah.
there, blah, blah." Maybe
You're in
F-bomb or
your
not.
right, you're in your
Yeah,
right,
and then
yeah.
he just basically which is probably dumb, but then I went out to the alley and then talked with him, we had this altercation, he came to my door. And I thought, "You know what? I'm either going to have to face him or he's gonna
Mhm.
shoot in my door." So I just
Yeah.
said, "Lord," and I opened the door and faced him
The
after
toughness of
yeah, and I
you,
said
yeah.
and then I had touched him, I said, "My name's Misty,
Mhm.
and I told you," he said, "You're wishing death on me." I said, "I'm not wishing death on you." I said, "I'm gonna pray for you because if you keep acting like this, you're gonna die by the time you turn 20. Do I look like a gang member to you?" And
Mhm.
he said and I must have touched him and he just, like, teared up. Like, "Really?"
He
Like, he
needed
prayed
that
yeah, I
kindness
think
because you
so.
coulda came out in a much
Uh,
more aggressive way,
yes.
in a different have a different approach, but that right there is a power of kindness where you chose to be calm even though you were in your right to be
Yes.
upset, someone throwing rocks at your window, but you chose to approach it in a different way, and that touched him. That's amazing.
It's just had to happen that way. So the next that was a Friday. So Saturday comes, I'm telling my dad about this the next day,
Mhm.
and my dad's like, "Missy, oh my gosh, that guy could have shot you." And I didn't really tell my family a lot of the things that happened out there because I just didn't want them to worry.
Yeah. Or they might
So
not agree with you, that was a good example or mhm.
yeah, so that was one. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut now,
Yeah.
right? Because I was always arguing with somebody trying to push up on my daughter and I.
Yeah.
Like, so then Monday comes, I go to take her to school, and then there's another guy trying to do the same thing. This guy's trying to get me into his car, and he's like, so and he's
Mm.
trying to and I said, no, I'm not trying to run my mouth like I was on Friday. This is
Right.
Monday. And then so it happened, and then he ended up stopping traffic on Vermont and demanding me to get in his car. So
Oh
that's
my
how people like
gosh.
get trafficked and whatnot. And
Right.
mind you, when I was dressed out there, I never dressed like try to dress,
Provocative or anything?
provocative or
Okay.
anything like that, though, especially, with my daughter. But this,
Mhm.
and I ended up jumping into the bus there, and to ask the girl to drop me off to USC. I said,
Yeah.
"This man's chasing me," and this, and that. And I went straight to my church and I said, "Lord, like, why?" After so, but those things have happened. God's always had a hand in my life. That's why I shared with you the
Yeah.
kidnapping story. I'm not trauma dumping per se on this episode. I'm
No,
just
these are
saying
things
that
that
these are
people
things
need to
that shape
hear.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
So,
shaped you,
yeah,
and
yeah.
now all of that does show, like you
Mm,
mentioned, you didn't want to be a victim.
right.
You experience all of these things, and even though you experience them, there are people that they don't come out the way you do. They
Mhm.
stay stuck in that mentality, or they stay stuck in the trauma. And it's things that we'll always carry along with us because it does shape the people that we are. But Misty Cota Maple
Yeah.
chose to not be
Yeah.
a victim, and instead you used it to empower yourself.
Absolutely.
Which leads me to, what would you say are some toxic patterns or just different things, set of beliefs that have now shaped you to be in this like happy, healthy marriage that you're in, running all of these businesses and doing the things that you do?
Sure. So, well, real quickly, I ended up graduating from USC
Mhm.
too. The neighborhood came and watched me real
Yep.
quickly. I ended up not just graduating, but emceeing the graduation. So
Oh,
I've been leader
nice.
on campus as well too. So,
Yeah.
and that was purely by the Lord. I had even on my hallway, I had a crocheted cross there, and I would be on my knees every day, like thanking God. So for just to get through that day.
Mhm.
I've been doing that ever since I took my daughter home from the hospital because I was overwhelmed on the second day. So that happened. I ended up working for the city and going through a lot. So having that self belief has been knowing who I am
Right.
in God, and and I really believed when I was a little kid. I really believed in Jesus. I really
Mhm.
believed that. So I knew I was going to be a business person. I
Mhm.
knew I was going to do that. I so when people knocked it or made fun of me or I just I and maybe I wasn't on the right path because of, like I told you, I didn't necessarily, I was running with a bad crowd.
Yeah.
I was doing all those things. So
Mhm.
what having my daughter and really caring about how I showed up in her eyes
Right.
and showing up in the world, and that is why, like, I essentially was didn't care about the world until I became a mother, and then
Mhm.
I wanted to make the world a better place
Right.
after. So so then how am I going to do this? So like I shared with you my 7-point system, right?
Yep.
After, so I will share you. So
Yes. Give us a
yeah,
rundown
so
of what your
my
7 point
seven-point
system
system
is.
is, so recognize is number one. So recognize is like, Houston, we have a problem, right?
Mhm.
After, so it's like, oh my gosh, like what am I going to do
Right.
like after it? And part of it is just recognizing, because if we don't recognize, we're living in denial after. And I
Right.
believe that if we can talk about it, we can manage it
Right.
after. If we can't talk about it, we're running away from it,
Mhm.
there's no healthy way to do
Yeah.
it. So recognize and then reevaluate, like says number two. So
Right.
reevaluate to me is like, okay, is this working? Is this really uh feeding into who I want to become, or who I am to become, or who God intends me to be
Right.
after? Because I knew that I was going to be this businesswoman. So how do I show up as her every
Mhm.
day? And I had that vision,
Yeah.
because if I didn't, then when I was going to Cerritos College, then at any whim of people wanting to, oh, let's go here, let's party here, or let's go here. Well, I can't do that because I
Mhm.
have this vision
Right.
after. So I'm going to reevaluate, is this working or not? And it doesn't mean that I didn't go off the path, but you
Mhm.
could get back on it again,
Yeah.
right? And then you could realign. Number
Right.
three. And I know I'm going through this quickly, but
No, you're good. You're good.
okay, good. My husband and I talk about this a lot. Sometimes you have to realign yourself. Maybe it's not the right job. Maybe it's
Mhm.
not the right friendships, or maybe, and because when he was younger too, my husband, he had to choose around the people that he had to be around too. And
Right.
some of them don't always end up, he was going to be a businessman. And
Mhm.
some people, he had a teacher tell him, if you keep hanging around this kid, you're going to end up in jail, right?
Yeah.
After, and that's what, and I saw people like that too end up in jail.
Right.
I saw people when I grew up as fifth grade and they
Mhm.
started dressing down
Yeah.
and doing those. And we were friends, we were buddies,
Mhm.
but they went on a different path.
Yeah.
Even the girls, some people that I love, and my problem also was I always wanted to bring everybody up with me, right?
Yep. And not everyone wants to come up
They
as much as you want it for them. Sometimes they're
Mhm.
not ready for that journey, or they're content with where they're at. And
They
that's
are
where we have to be accepting and be like, as much as I want you to grow and rise, you don't want it for yourself. So how am I going to help you?
right, and I can't want it more than you want it. You have to want it
Absolutely.
too, so we have to grow together. And so sometimes, and it doesn't mean there's no hate, it's all love all the time.
Yep.
But I feel like sometimes, especially, I will listen. I'm a very great friend and a great family member, but
Oh
if
yeah.
we're talking about the same story over and over again, I feel like I'm not helping you because
Mhm.
I'm listening to the victim in you, not the victor, right?
Yep.
And so I'm a champion. So
Mhm.
I've gone up and down and made these decisions, but
And
I
you've
wanted
been
to speak
there,
through the victory,
right?
yeah, after. So because I've gotten my butt kicked too, and there's a lot of things certain,
Yeah,
but we grow, we learn, and like I said, and you just keep going
right.
after. So, and then
Which
what I
leads to the
said, the
reassign.
reassign, right? So I may have to reassign something in my
Yep.
life, or reassign
Yep.
myself, or reassign a duty. Maybe I'm doing too much.
Mhm.
So you have to, and you have to basically reassign a role to somebody, or my role, and or those sorts of things.
Right.
And remind is the reflection,
Mhm.
right after. And it's all these re's, because I believe in redoing too. I
Yeah.
believe in
I
second
know, I
chances.
love this. When I saw that 7-point system, I was
Yeah,
going through it. I'm like,
yeah.
it's a whole like
Mhm,
flow and process in itself. And I totally agree. And even that reminding is
mhm.
reminding yourself, why am I doing the things that
Yeah.
I'm doing? What's my ultimate why?
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Well, and I'll even go drive to the old neighborhood that I lived in
Mhm.
LA. Okay. And
You're
I'll
like,
look at
dang,
that
I've come a
window.
long
I took
way.
my, yes. And I even where I got kidnapped too in Buena Park, because there was a freeway right there.
Mhm.
So I knew that guy was trying to take me and drive off the freeway. When I was in 2001, excuse me, yes, I was a senior or junior at USC, and there was a case, Samantha Runyon. She was kidnapped right around that spot where I was
Oh,
originally,
shoot.
and that struck me deep. And then I realized, gosh, you're so lucky,
Yeah.
that.
Because
And
life could have turned out so different if
mm,
you were to
mhm,
get kidnapped at that time when
yeah,
it happened.
absolutely. So I've also, a lot of my journey also is helping victims, trafficked
Mhm.
victims, and whatnot too. I'll go back to my system before. What I saying is REAP.
Yep.
So 6 was REAP, was because okay, yes, I'm a businesswoman. I sell homes.
Mhm.
I've worked for the government for a lot of years, done really great projects with lots of people. We've built water parks. We've done capital projects, giving back, because I'm so grateful. Says
Mhm.
being a young mom, people were good with my daughter and
Yep.
I too. And so reaping to me though is, it's not just the monetary benefits that
Right.
you get, but it's the social capital too. And
Mhm.
those, so a lot of, when I first started real estate in 2010, uh, I was doing social media, and they
Yep.
were telling us also, oh, you got to go knock on
Mhm.
doors, and
Door-to-door
yeah,
sales,
yeah. And
yeah.
I'm like, we got our door, we got the doors like slammed on us a few times, my broker, and I'm like, this isn't working for me. I'm
Mhm.
just gonna go back to the community and help as much as possible. My
Right.
church, we created Love Law Mirada,
Mhm.
co-founded that organization. Back to the women's group, giving out scholarships and veterans, and
That's
doing those sorts of
amazing.
things. So,
Yep.
and then that, so reaping to me is just like those scholarships, like the
Right.
kids that I've helped. I was also an advisor at USC from
Mhm.
2013 to 2018, and I wasn't paid for it per se, helping first generation students, but I was actually like somebody there that was present there, that cared for these young women.
Yeah.
And they're doing amazing things now. As a matter of fact, one of them is we're working together, getting her first home right
Mhm.
now too, and she's on her journey.
That's
But and she's
amazing.
really top of her field.
That's
And so
good.
I have girls that I've mentored that are writing television series and movies, and they're in cybersecurity,
Mhm.
and and all those seeds, those things are, they're like my flowers, my
Yep.
gems, and those things just, even when they come back and speak to me again, I love it so much. So that has
Yeah.
been a journey for me, especially I've been in ministry for a lot of years, and I would say in the beginning, when I was doing it, I was like, well, why would anybody want me to minister to them? I
Because
was
you
a
have an
teen mom,
amazing story
but
to
right,
tell.
that's what they
Yeah.
said, and how God helped you and
Right.
whatnot. So
And the transformation. And even now, and
yeah,
this isn't your
hmm,
end result because you have a whole life ahead of you
hmm,
still, but it's showing
hmm,
what you what things were for you at one point and
hmm,
how you transform and how you overcame it,
yeah,
which leads me to wonder, how that
hmm,
gets into the reward, how you feel
yeah,
rewarded by helping others and that fulfills you. Do you ever
yeah.
see like little Misty in these young women that you help?
Absolutely. Even like the gal that I'm talking about right now, I
Mhm.
even told my husband, I said, she's just like little me. Yeah, I was like, oh, she's gonna make a little make her decision. She's gonna tell you exactly what she wants. He's
Yep.
like, oh gosh, she sounds like you right
Mhm.
after. But and those, I love that. I've helped several people, some going through their journeys and expressing my journey, and
Right.
because I believe in progress, not perfection.
Yes, I
After
love that.
so yeah,
Mhm.
so I'll just, keep going. So, a lot of people probably think I'm trying to put this perfect image out after, and really it's not. It's just showing you how happy I am because I've
Right.
been through that too, and there's
Mhm.
more stuff. And rewarding is taking that, yes, go on a vacation or, think about those things. Get your nails
Right.
done, treat yourself after. But
Right.
so, those I used to watch people just work, work, work. And then
Mhm.
after that, by the time they can't even go anywhere after, they can't do anything.
Yeah.
So enjoy your life. Even if
Right.
you're going through something, it is okay to table it
Yeah.
and just and enjoy and laugh. And if you're not enjoying it, you shouldn't be doing it. Then I would tell you to go back and recognize and reevaluate and
Go through the 7-point
realize.
system,
Yes,
literally. Yeah.
because if you're not having fun, and I loved, like I said, I attribute going to college and helping me have my dreams because I was the first one in my family to go
Yeah.
to college and that
Mhm.
pathway. I didn't even know what a bachelor's degree was. I didn't know what Microsoft Word. I didn't know what
Yeah.
that was.
But you
And
got
so
yourself
I
there,
did.
you were determined.
I did. And so and I don't think that's the only pathway, like my
Right.
husband, he's in sales and he didn't go to college. And there's trade schools you don't, but he's actually really really good at what he does. He's
Right.
honed his craft.
Mhm.
So there's tech programs. So
Right.
I like to spread awareness on that. I love the women's group that we're part of, Mirada Ebell. We give scholarships
Yeah.
to first generation college students too, because that's tough. We
Right.
didn't know. We didn't grow up knowing how to
These
do that. That
resources
path
that were out there.
resources are out
Mhm.
there.
It's like if you knew, you knew, but now there's even
Mhm,
way more resources, and I love this is where your natural
mhm.
community leadership kicks in, and you do everything and anything that you
Thank
can
you.
to help others,
I
and
love that.
the world definitely needs more of that.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
I hope so because like I said, and there's a lot of other things in this journey that again, that I've had to learn and have some false starts, but that's okay. Failure is a part of success, and it's part of
Yeah.
that. And my husband and I, so let's just say, so my daughter now,
Mhm.
okay, she grew up, but let's get back. I'm going to rewind a little bit,
Yep.
just real quick. She grew up and she graduated high school. Her dad came back in her life, which was kind of a lot of, started, it was good and it was not so good.
Right.
There was some trouble that started there too as well. And
Mhm.
after, and he's on a journey himself too. And sometimes if you don't get the healing, it will show up in
Yeah,
different,
it will.
it will show up in different ways.
Right.
So, and
Consistent
that's,
patterns too
yeah.
are being put in the same situation and not learning.
Absolutely. So she's old enough and grown where she's, navigated that path. So
Mhm.
she's done, well for herself. Meanwhile, I worked for local government for a lot of years. And then I went into real estate. My
Mhm.
dad was an agent. My mom's an investor as well. So I started 15 years ago when it was difficult. It
Right.
was right after the recession. So people were saying that fish landed on the boats. It
Mhm.
didn't land on the boat. Like I had to go and work for it
Yeah.
and get the public trust,
Right.
which a lot of I did. And by doing the community building, became a commissioner of my town
Yeah.
in 2017. Was able to draft a proposal to help because at the time, La Mirada wasn't getting a lot of money because it is a pretty well built city,
Okay.
well to do. So a lot of the funding doesn't come to La Mirada, right? So, but when I worked, I just wrote it up anyways. The proposal for the parks, walked around with all the community leaders, the athletic groups, and then when I became a Senate staff, pushed for that money to for the parks. And
Yeah.
so now to this day, they're building the park out right now. Was able to
Nice.
get money to different communities. It was during COVID time when I've been in real estate for a lot of years, but
Right.
the Senator Archuleta for Senate District 30, he said, he met me and he said, Misty, you would be really good for the district. I really
Yeah.
want you to think about it. So I went through the background and ended up getting the position and was able to help the district out in so many ways. We took care of 20 cities.
Wow,
And so
that's a lot.
I had a local government experience, so that I had that, but now taking care of 20, which means that you've got 20 different city councils and
Right.
20 different city managers, and different chambers of commerces. But It was amazing, fun experience. I
I
only
bet.
wanted to do 1 year. I did 3,
Mm-hmm.
because I was still self-employed.
Right.
And then, but, and because at one point, I don't think politics is in my future per
Mm-hmm.
se.
You
Uh,
never know. You never
you
know.
never know,
Right.
but I'm going to pursue a doctorate for, I
Nice.
love, I want to be a professor at a school, college,
I
teach the
did not
next
know
leaders.
that
Oh
about you.
yeah,
That's
yeah. Yeah, so
awesome.
that's on the horizon
I
coming
love
up.
that.
I've been researching doctorate programs, teaching next leaders and teaching
Mm-hmm.
about ethics. And basically now I think that since everything has happened
Right.
and whatnot, just getting people together like
Yep.
you're doing per se. I love how
Right.
you're getting us to share stories.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
love getting people together, community, creating events and energy and getting good people, introducing good people with each
Right.
other, and then like being the support
Yeah.
for good
And
leaders. So,
that's how we collaborate. And
mhm.
I look forward to developing our friendship even more and seeing where it is that you go in life because I didn't even know that the whole professor thing is really amazing. Because I know you're all about your
Mhm.
business, which right
Yeah.
now you're gonna showcase all of that. But I know as we're coming
Too.
to an end,
Thank you.
I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to be here and being vulnerable and sharing your story. I know a lot of people are going to be able to relate to it, and I'm looking forward to the feedback and you just watching this and loving it and it even being a part of your own healing process right now too. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now this is going to be the Elevate in 60 I told you
Oh,
about. I'm like it's
okay.
like a fast. I ask you 3 questions and the goal is for you to answer in less than 60 seconds. It's just a little fun thing I love to do with the guests at the end of the show. So, are you ready, Misty?
Sure, sure.
Okay. Number 1, what's one piece of advice you would give to teen moms?
Well, I know that if you're a teen mom, you're already a good mom, so you're putting your child first. So I will say that just to never lose your sparkle, never give up, and always believe in yourself.
Ooh,
So
I love
that's
that. Yep,
yeah.
never give up. That's a really really great one. Number 2, what's your favorite color and why?
Oh gosh, I love all of them, but I love purple. I love purple, and it's such a regal color, I
It's
suppose.
like
But
gives royalty
I
vibes.
love it, but I love what you're wearing, the gold. I love pink. I love everything. I love black too, to tell you the
Mhm.
truth. And just I wore my little sparkles for you guys
Ooh,
too as
I
well.
love it.
But
Look at you. You're like, I'm coming to
I wasn't
shimmer
sure
and
what would show up
shine.
well on camera, so but
No, yeah, it
but
definitely shines. It looks
thank
great.
you, thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome. And lastly, what's your favorite hobby and why? And I think I know what you're gonna say, but I could be wrong.
Oh gosh. Well, there's a lot. I have a lot of little hobbies. So I make soap, for instance. I make
Yep.
self care products too, and I love to
And
bake.
that's your
Yeah,
business
that's my
too.
business.
Yep.
Yes. So I do. I have my Instagram. It's Spa Delush. After so I do fall and Christmas boutiques. So I'm
Hmm.
getting ready for fall and Christmas as well. So we do soaps and everything's homemade. They look like desserts. You look like you can eat them, and they're amazing. Great products, all natural, hemp oil, organic. I started it during COVID. I wanted
Hmm.
something to heal and something to calm me.
Yep.
I also bake cakes, so I love to bake,
Yeah. I'm like,
and
there
so
you go.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
where you
yeah.
now you showcase
Uh,
showcase your
I
business
love
and
and I bake
yeah.
cakes so for fun. My mom baked cakes when I was younger, so we had too much cake in our refrigerator when I was
Hmm.
young. So and now I decided to take that up. And so if you have an event, I made you a cake one
Yeah,
time,
you did.
and
I
yeah,
absolutely love
thank
it. I'm
you.
like, I have tried her
Yeah,
cakes, her products.
yeah.
I'm gonna make sure to put all of that in like the
Oh,
description
thank
box, so it'll
you.
be there so that they can
Yeah.
easily access it.
And those are just baked for people that I love because I know I just that would be perfection if you were like
Mhm.
a baker. So, but
Yeah.
that's just a hobby, and
Hmm.
I think that's just so important to do things that make you like light up and have fun. Because
Right.
I deal with contracts right now. I have a contractor right now, and they're
Hmm.
lifting up the foundation of a
Yeah.
home, and I deal with all kinds of things like that during the day,
Right.
or I may be with an agent, kind of arguing or whatnot to
Yep.
for our clients. But
Hmm.
so I like to do things that like are really cute and soft and that can
Yeah.
gift somebody. So yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Misty, for sharing your awesome businesses. Now, is there any final message that you'd like to give the audience before we end up signing off?
Yes. Well, I hadn't really thought of a message. I actually usually am ultra prepared, saying a speech and whatnot. But I just want to say that out of my story, that out of anything, whatever it is, you could actually honestly do anything you want to do. Don't ever let it set you back. After, believe in yourself, find your higher power. If God brought you to it, he'll bring you through it. And that is my final message.
Ooh, I absolutely love that. Thank you so much, Misty. We definitely have to have another podcast episode soon. But everyone, we are now at an end. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to check the description box below because I'm going to put all of Misty's information, social media. I really want her to get this cake business going. She says she does it for a hobby, but they're super amazing. So reach out to her for your cakes, your products, real estate needs. Everything's going to be down there below. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.